Hi, ladies and gentlemen. You are watching and listening to a very sober edition
The
of The Rant. Welcome back to
rant.
The Rant, episode 2. I'm Mike Morales here in sunny Southern California in the San Gabriel Valley, the armpit of the San Gabriel Valley. That gentleman out there is?
I'm on the other side, but not necessarily the armpit. Come on.
No,
It's not
you're
that bad.
no, you're in the burn area.
We're in the burnt, the
You're in the
burnt
burnt
area.
you're in the burnt area. Folks, it has been one hell of a first quarter. We January, February, now we're in March. We're a week out of St. Patrick's Day, and I don't feel any luckier than, than anybody else.
Well, I'll tell you who doesn't feel lucky.
Who? Tell me.
The people with the additive free movement.
Alex, where do I start? Where do we start? Where do we start with this? For those of you who are wondering what we're talking about, there has been a landmark, I would call it a landmark lawsuit that was uh,
Which is brought forward.
filed. It was just filed by the Consejo Regulador del Tequila, the CRT, the governing body of tequila, against the people who are the Additive Free Alliance, AFA, and their parent organization, the parent company that owns them. And it shocked a lot of people, but I got to tell you, Alex, I was not surprised.
Well, we knew this was coming. We knew this was coming because, and I'll quote you can't keep poking the bear, right? And think that nothing's going to happen. So unfortunately, the people behind, TMM, um, and the Additive Free Alliance, they, in my opinion, were given a lot of opportunities to really cease and desist, if you want to use legal terms, since we're talking about legal stuff,
Right.
but maybe even collaborate, continue to collaborate with the brands and collaborate with the CRT, but unfortunately, it went south. And we knew this was coming, and not to sound cliche, but the writing was on the wall.
Yeah.
The writing was on the wall. And if you didn't get the hint when their place got raided, and you continued with your efforts and tried to reinvent yourself here in the United States, what is it you told me earlier, Mike? You can run,
We have, excuse me, we have
you
we
can
have a
run, but you
gentleman,
can't hide.
right. We have a gentleman that we know that had at one time worked as an agent for the CRT here in the United States. He's very closely knit and very tied uh to Mexico and the tequila industry. And the first thing he says was, I knew it was coming. He says that's the benefit of having an accord signed for the appellation of origin. The appellation of origin is what the actual term of denomination of origin. Denomination of origin is the Mexican version of the appellation of origin, which is a European model. Okay, and we discuss all this stuff on our Catador course in case you get a little confused, which will be revised. It's being revised right now. It's almost ready to launch, actually. So we explain what that is. The denomination of origin is a European model from the wine industry, okay, from the ancient wine industry, and not just wine, but cheese and food and anyway, uh, and finally, what he said to me was, "You can run, but you can't hide." And in the United States, it's a couple of strange things about the U.S. It does not recognize a denomination of origin. Otherwise, we'd have Tennessee only. We do have Tennessee whiskey and we have Kentucky bourbon, but they're not necessarily denominations of origin. What the government, what the United States recognizes is trademarks. Okay? Make no mistake, tequila is a trademark. And the owners of that trademark will go. I'm looking, we got the whole complaint. I went over it with a fine-tooth comb. I've got notes on this thing. This is, by the way, my second a trademark infringement case. If
Oh, you
you're
did
for
with
those,
Clase Azul.
yes, If you folks are wondering how we got to this point, I'm not gonna go through a whole timeline because it's all in here in the complaint, actually. But it's all also in the article that I wrote that had to do with why we got to this point with the Additive Free Alliance with AFA. And you can go to our website, subscribe to the magazine, you can download it for free. I would suggest, I would urge and invite you folks to catch up on this. And also, there is this being my second trademark infringement case that I wrote about. The first one was the Clase Azul case versus Casa Azul Tequila, in which Clase Azul lost. Okay. This is, Clase Azul is a behemoth. Those guys have been around for a long time to make a lot of money. They got a boutique hotel in Cabo. They're no joke. Not the greatest tequila in the world, but that's another story. But they lost because they couldn't prove trademark infringement.
Right.
Okay. This is a textbook version of how a trademark infringement case actually works. And there's so much to go over. And I don't know.
Yeah, and what to make a statement about this too, Mike, this isn't CRT's first circus.
Oh, no. Oh, no, no, no.
They know what this is because they have an office in Washington, D.C.
Yes.
to protect their trademark. And
That's why
and
that's why they
obviously,
have offices in Shanghai, China. You know why? Because they know sooner or later China's going to try and screw it
oh,
up and make their own
they've
tequila.
been trying to do their own thing.
It, Look, mira, folks. The CRT, if you read who they are a nonprofit organization. So everybody thinks that they don't have teeth. No, that's not the case. They they have alliances through the Attorney General of Mexico that if they are looking for you, they can have you jailed by using Interpol. Interpol is an international police force. They can go after you with them, and they will. And I've said this before. I've said it on other podcasts. I've said it, I think, in our previous rant. They protect their trademark as fiercely as Disney, Levi's, and anybody else. They are. There's no joke.
Yep.
And
It's millions of dollars, Mike. It's
oh,
millions
oh
of
yeah,
dollars.
but it's a when you do a trademark infringement case, you have to follow certain rules, certain um, tiers to to be able to file something like this and prove it, because you got to prove it. You still got to prove it.
Right.
And unbeknownst to me, I was going through a fine tooth comb for like 2, 3 days with this stuff. Alex somehow he got the evidence that is listed
The
in this
exhibits.
complaint, pieces of the evidence, and there's evidence missing. The evidence that has not been brought forth yet. Yet. Now, first thing I will say is if you've got a copy of this, I would say read it. If you don't have a copy of it, just let us know. We'll send you a copy. I'm not going to send you to a link somewhere that's going to have it. We have it. Okay. Um, if you look at the very top, if you are familiar with this, it says jury trial demanded. In most all trademark cases, a jury trial is demanded. It is necessary because you still have to, a jury has to decide and a judge has to decide whether there was enough of an infringement to dilute the trademark. And I got to tell you, Alex, after going through this with a fine-tooth comb, this is a very, very strong case. It's almost a classic case that it's textbook.
Oh,
It's a
yeah,
textbook.
it's serious. And this is the complaint too, Mike. If you don't mind, let me read this
Yeah, please do. Please do.
from the civic cover sheet that that the CRT attorneys have filed. Their cause and their reason for action is trademark infringement, false description or representation, and trademark dilution. So that's some pretty heavy allegations there.
Well, that's the only way that they can file this court
Yeah,
case. That's the only way. They have to prove all three, and they feel that they can prove all three. In fact, the thing with Clase Azul was that they couldn't they proved one, but they couldn't get the other two, so they lost the case. And during the discovery phase, discovery is when the lawyers get together and they share their evidence with the defense, and the defense shares their evidence with the plaintiff. Okay? In the discovery phase, there's all kinds of stuff that they haven't even posted. It's not even here. You know why? Because, all you want to you only want to express as much as it's necessary to prove that you can file this without malice. You're not wasting the judge's time. You're not wasting the district of the district court
Florida.
time of Florida. So there's all kinds of stuff that could come out. Um, because with the Clase Azul case, they did a testimony. They did I forget exactly what the term is because I'm not a lawyer, but it's where they take uh, a testimony from one of the main. I think it was the president or CEO of Clase Azul. There was some cross-examination where, and it's in our article, by the way, where the CEO of the company had to admit that Clase Azul uses additives. And the reason to me that was a landmark case is because it's the first time in court that an organic tequila, organic, which is has to have a USDA seal on it, was recognized in court as a legitimate category for tequila
Right.
because of that case. And it was kind of brutal when your president of the company under oath has to say, yeah, we do. And the cross-examination was, I go back and forth, and it was just one page that I got. Um, and when you have to admit stuff, there's no telling what testimonies
We're
will
going to come
come
out.
up by both parties. I'm not going to lie, both parties are going to have to testify. Um, there's no telling what'll come out. You know,
Yeah. Well,
I
this is definitely heavy duty.
this is heavy stuff.
It's definitely heavy duty. Look at that. And I got it double-sided.
Oh shit. Oh God. Um,
Yeah,
let's let
this is heavy duty. So this
dude,
is the
go ahead.
CRT, who is a plaintiff, versus Additive Free Alliance Inc. and STF Online Inc. Those are the defendants. This is a jury trial demanded, like you mentioned. Additive Free Alliance, we know who's behind that. Same thing as STF Online. Um, and they actually, on the Additive Free Alliance, actually have some of the influencers that you see online are part of this Additive Free Alliance. So
Ooh.
you better, be careful and watch yourself on what you're doing
You,
and who
you
you're
know,
affiliating yourself with.
we talked about that on the first rant.
Yeah.
This is not, by the way, this is not a sequel. This is a whole other section, but it's we have the reason we bring these up and we don't do these very often is because Alex and we've been at this for 25 years, close to 26 years now, coming this July. We've seen things happen and come and go, but with the rise of social media, the talk about dilution, misinformation, disinformation. See this stuff? I'll read you a few passages from this. The reason this is so thick and the reason that they can file it is because it's called due diligence. It's called doing your homework. And nobody did their due diligence better. Nobody knows how to do it better than the CRT when it comes to protecting your trademark that if indeed tequila signifies their country, Mexico, what do you think that they're not going to take care of it? Of course they are. It's their image, but it's also a business.
And
Okay.
they're going to know their stuff. And that's why you have the unfortunate disinformation and misinformation being spread by all these different people that want to support this cause. And what are they doing? They're making things worse for this particular group as well as
Yeah.
themselves. Because as you can see in the complaint, you're going to see in the complaint that you've probably read, anyone that's had any relationship with them is on the CRT's radar.
Yeah.
You influencers out there that are in our Instagram that like to post stuff about this group, you are being also watched and possibly
Everything,
targeted.
again, to AFA's credit, they hid nothing. They tried to be transparent. Everything is on their Instagram, their website, their blog. They did all that to his credit, to their credit,
And to their detriment.
and to their detriment. They see the CRT has taken an entire year. It's been a year since the
Since
AFA's
the raid.
offices, since the raid.
Yeah.
Because last March, and again, I go through the whole timeline in my article. Please go get it. Just uh, subscribe to the newsletter. Again, the magazine is free. Download it. It'll tell you how we got to this point. Okay, a year to the day. They file this a year to the day on Fat Tuesday. They filed it the day before Ash Wednesday. And for those of you who are Catholic and follow the religious calendar, um, and they crucified AFA. I mean, it's
Well, let's get into it. Let's get
okay.
into it.
Let's get into it.
Did you
All
want to
right.
go? It's a lot of information.
It's a lot of information. First of all, let me explain how this works. The only way you can file a trademark infringement, they will cite what they call the Lanham Act. The Lanham Act is the landmark case where they base all trademark infringement cases. Okay. Did I even tell you this, Alex? I have a newsletter that it's legal. It's a legal newsletter. You have to be a lawyer or you subscribe. There's a paywall, but it's all about trademark infringement. This kind of stuff happens all the time. Sony is suing Samsung. Tesla gets jammed, General Mills. And it's really intriguing. It's amazing how these
Oh, it's
titan,
trademark law. Even Google and because of their processes, it might be a process. It could be a part. It could be a name. It could be anything.
yeah, yeah, you could be accused of
This gets into patents too. You got patents. You got trademarks.
patents,
Oh,
industrial espionage. You use my software to make your business, and I need
even
to get paid.
music.
Yeah. So it's called the Lanham Act. The Lanham Act is a USA federal law that governs trademarks, service marks, and unfair competition, essentially protecting intellectual property by prohibiting activities like trademark infringement, trademark dilution, false advertising, and unfair business practices, allowing companies to sue individuals who use similar marks and could confuse consumers. Confusion also has to be a part of this.
Yep. Yep.
Confuse consumers about the origin of goods or services.
Right. And
Okay.
confusion reminds me of J.B. Wagner. His name of his product created confusion.
For those of you who are old dinosaurs like us, okay, you're old dogs like me. Do you remember Tequila? Remember Tequila? Alex interviewed J.B. Wagner. It was funny because it was during the one and only tequila event held at the Pomona Fairgrounds in Southern California, the California State Fairgrounds in Pomona. They had a big tequila thing, and Alex was invited, and he did. That's where you talk. Isn't that where you talked to Sofia Partida the first time?
No, that was another event. But in
That was
this
another event.
particular one in Pomona, the CRT was even there. They were present.
Well,
I actually had a chance to interview her too.
JB Wagner was not
Was
allowed.
No, he was banned. He was supposed to be a presenter and have his product presented at the fair. And he was banned from being part of the show. So I was able to contact him and I met him at a bar. I think it was just down the street from
From the fairgrounds, right?
from the fair. And I guess he told everybody that's where he was going to be. So I had a chance to go out there and have a chat with him. And that's what he claimed, that he was banned from the show because of his product. And the CRT did not allow him to be there in the show.
Now, again, this same agent that I quoted earlier, he's been around the business for a long time. He actually was an agent for the CRT when JB Wagner had Temecula, which was in Temecula, California. I think he was a former avocado grower, and when the avocado started going to Mexico, and he was pretty much out of business, but he had all this property.
Well, he had a lot of agaves. That's what got him started. He had a lot of
Yeah,
agave
yeah, he had
property.
a lot of agaves. And he thought, well, I've got this factory, I got this property that I can't grow avocados anymore because nobody's buying my avocados. So he started making his and distilling uh, blue agave spirit. At the time, we had no category for blue agave spirit. He didn't, I don't know what the hell he called it, but I remember there were bottles of Tequila. And this agent, one day, at the behest of the CRT, knocked on JB's door and said, "Hey, you got to stop using your name. Can you
Was
change?"
assigned. Yeah, he was assigned to
Yeah,
basically go tell him to stop.
right. It was a cease and desist on, on a personal basis. And his actual words were, "Tell the CRT to go F themselves." And our friend, our agent, my mentor, said, "Okay, looks like you got everything handled." And he walked away. He made a phone call to the CRT and they said, "Okay, don't worry, we'll take care of it from here." I believe the next day, Riverside County Sheriff's or somebody uh, knocked on his door and shuttered the entire place. They put locks on his still uh, until eventually he had to change the name to JB Wagner's Blue Agave Spirit or something, whatever it was. And I had seen bottles like at Whole Foods. It was everywhere at Whole Foods. It was,
Oh,
you know, I don't even remember what it tastes like. Did you ever have a sample
I
of that?
can't remember. I know I had some. I wish I had the bottle. I would have been a historical piece.
Oh, I know. I
But he had
know.
to change his label from Tequila, like you said, to JB Wagner's, which is his name.
Yeah. And that's cool. That's probably what it should have been. I know he wanted, his intentions were good. And there's no telling how many times the CRT had actually asked him. Again, the CRT, when you make a court case like this, you have to give the other party a chance to make amends without having to go to court, without having to spend the money,
Sure.
without animosity. And again, to AFA's credit, they were very upfront. They were very, that we had a meeting with the CRT. They told us to change the verification to confirmation to verification. I think you have a picture of that with it
No,
was
I think
part
it's
of evidence.
verification and confirmation. Let me look it up. That's actually one of the exhibits.
Yeah, because that was a meeting that they had, apparently. I mean, allegedly, because I may as well use that term, right? Um, and you could see how the seal changed because, well, we'll get into it.
It went from certificado verificado, from verified to confirmed to now being part of the alliance. And this is part of exhibit E. There are the seals right there.
Yeah, right there. That's the evidence that was submitted with the complaint. That's
Yeah.
not all the evidence, but that's the evidence
There's
that was enough to file the complaint.
yeah, there's 6 exhibits. And that's just for this complaint. We'll see what else comes up.
There's there
Interesting.
yeah, let's just go over some highlights, okay? Because I have highlighted this thing left and right.
Yes.
Again, jury trial demanded. That's the only way that these cases can go to court, can be filed, is to ask for a jury trial. It says, as part of its responsibility as the sole certifier of tequila, at this point, they are the only, okay? And the agency responsible for substantiating fact-based claims on tequila labels, it is the CRT's responsibility to protect the tequila industry and consumers of alcoholic beverages by stopping those that promote false claims and those that purport to be a certifier of tequila. Without CRT's permission, defendants have been representing themselves as certifiers of tequila, and more specifically, by falsely certifying tequilas as additive free. We have said this over, Alex, we have said this over and over again. AFA they were credentialed to certify, verify anything.
Right.
Nothing. Now you have a very interesting. Let me read this because you have the evidence, and I which I haven't seen, by the way. I did not see where that link was. Now, as I went through the case, I was looking at this and said, "Well, I didn't see that. Where do you get that? Where's that evidence? I want to see it." But thankfully, Alex, who's a bloodhound, Alex is a bloodhound. He went and found it, and
Yeah, and it's on that same page too. It says, accordingly, CRT brings this suit to stop defendants from purporting to certify tequilas, to stop their infringement of CRT's tequila trademark, and to stop them from false and misleading advertising claiming about tequilas being additive free.
yes, I mean they
So
wow. Just let's see here. Okay. And then I think on page 3, they talk about the Lanham Act, which is what I covered already. Um, and they mentioned the principals, defendants. Uh, let's see. What am I looking at here?
are you looking for the exhibits?
Not necessarily, but here we go. A CRT certification of tequila
Okay, very
established.
well.
Now, what they
This
do,
is a
they
big
give you a,
document.
a factual background of why the CRT exists.
Ah,
Okay. They have to outline this establishes credibility for the CRT. This is established in May 17, 1994.
page 5.
The CRT is a civil organization that brings together the actors of the agave tequila chain, including agave producers, tequila bottlers, producers, distributors, marketers, and government agencies. The CRT is approved by the General Doctorate of Standards of the Ministry of Economy of Mexico and is accredited by the
Ding,
Mexican
ding, ding, ding.
Accreditation Entity AC to perform its functions as an inspection unit, testing laboratory, and as a certification body and certification and verification body of greenhouse gases. The CRT is the only entity authorized under Mexican law to inspect, analyze, and certify compliance with the official Mexican standard, which is the norma, which we all know hasn't been changed since 2012.
Right.
Um,
So just with that, Mike, this group was breaking the law.
yeah,
Just with that.
just with that.
You cannot, you're not a certifying body. You're not authorized to certify or confirm or any of that for that matter. It's you're already breaking the law right there.
Yeah. The CRT's primary function is to safeguard the tequila denomination of origin around the world to guarantee tequila's authenticity to the consumer. You know what? They're just protecting their intellectual property. That's what this is. Since 1973, the U.S. Department of Treasury has recognized tequila as a distinctive product of Mexico. That's that's what this is. They're not they're not saying that we we claim that we recognize your denomination of origin, only that it is recognized tequila as a distinctive product of Mexico. Because they have a because they're not calling it denomination of origin, but they're recognizing that it is a distinctive product. Okay? The US. CRT owns an incontestable federal registration for the certification mark tequila. And they give you the registration number, which you have. Don't you have the CRT's that's
That's
Exhibit A.
Exhibit A,
Exhibit A,
certification
ladies and
number
gentlemen.
55126.
Yes,
Exhibit A. Let me look for it here. So Exhibit A
it's Exhibit A,
is the United States trademark for the word tequila.
registered in 2017. And again, as we said, this is not the CRT's first rodeo. They've done this a couple of times. I also mentioned off camera to Alex there's a company called Luxor, or yeah, I think it's
Luxor.
Luxcor or something. Luxco.
Luxco, there you go. One of
Yeah,
those.
and they're based in St. Louis, and they tried to sue, claiming that tequila was a generic term.
Right.
Luxco, they are a company that imports a distiller and imports um, uh, El Mayor
Right.
tequila. They also El Mayor's like probably the only. There are two. Um, I believe there are two num numbers, one for El Mayor and the other one for the distillery that is owned and operated by Luxco, and that is has a diffuser, and that particular distillery makes Costco tequila now.
Yeah. And that's where they got that wrong because, I mean, you can't, for example, trademark agave.
Yeah, they tried that, right? We
Or
stopped that shit.
yeah, you can't trademark spirit. Um, so that's why you can use agave spirit. You can't trademark, certain words like that.
You're
But
fired.
tequila,
You're fired. You
you're
can't
fired.
trademark that either.
But tequila is a name and it is trademarked.
Yeah. So we go through that. Let me
In
uh
fact, in fact, Mike, on page 6, it says CRT's certification mark tequila is famous, which I thought was interesting.
yes.
CRT works diligently to prevent the misuse of its famous and valuable certification mark, including numerous proceedings before the trademark trial and appeal board to prevent unauthorized use or registration of the mark tequila and confusingly similar marks.
As in Temecula,
Exactly.
right? Remember Temecula? That was they claimed that was a confusingly similar mark.
Right.
And they could have been right, could have been wrong. Nobody cares. I mean, it's all but they had to protect it. Um in addition to CRT has its own laboratories where it tests each batch of tequila that it certifies. In 2006, distillers had to have were ordered to have labs on site. So, and those of you who have done, distillery tours, you've seen the lab. You know that
Right.
they're supposed to have a lab there now. That happened in 2006 as a CRT law now, CRT rule. They mention here in one, two, three, four paragraphs on page 7, CRT can the CRT can inspect, analyze, and certify compliance with the NOM, okay, the tequila NOM, but again, they cite the NOM. Only CRT can authorize use of tequila as a denomination of origin issued by the Mexican Institute of Industrial Property, INPI, okay, which we know as INPI, certifying the product for export to the US. Tequila must adhere to the DGN uh, uh, standards, and CRT enforces those standards as an accredited conformance assessment body, which ultimately permits the product to be exported to the US. Okay, these are all the things that they're responsible for. There's a couple more I won't go into because
Right.
we all
And,
know.
and they're responsible for this by or for the Mexican government. That's
Yeah,
that that's the kicker there.
they're
This is not
well,
something that they make
they're
up. It's not something they make up. It's not no the Mexican government has oversight over
yes, yeah. So they're just they're enforcing.
their watchdog.
That's their job. That's what they
Yeah.
do. So at the bottom of this on page 7, they start with defendants' wrongful conduct. It says here that SF2 owns and operates a number of websites, mobile apps, and social media pages dedicated to tequila. Okay. For example, and they go into what they own, which I don't want to mention here. And they give the website as well as the app, the famous app, both available on Google Play and Apple App Stores. I wonder if it's still available. I'm not sure. I haven't looked. S2F also runs social media channels on at least Instagram, Facebook, and X, formerly known as Twitter. And they give those web URLs, which the reason that they're bringing this up is because they've been monitoring. That's what they're showing you. They've monitored all of this. They know what went on Instagram. They know what went on Twitter. They know what went on Facebook. They
And
know.
they know what went on when they went on site to these places, or when they invited groups to go to these places to give them
Oh, you mean that
information
you
on
mean
what.
that famous week that we didn't well, for some reason we didn't get invited to that one.
No,
Yeah.
no, they didn't.
That was a whole week of
Additive free, what is it called?
I didn't get the
Additive free
invitation.
week?
Yeah, I didn't
Additive
get
free
the
week.
invitation, you know. But anyway, um, now here's what it says here. S2F created, operated, and operated a program that it called Additive Free Tequila Verification Program, as detailed in Exhibit B, which you have.
Exhibit B.
I present to you, ladies and gentlemen of the court, Exhibit B.
Exhibit B. So this is a good
Like Perry Mason.
14 pages. Exhibit B. So
Wow.
then that goes into images of the website.
Oh, look, that was what they had on their at their house, I think.
I'm not sure.
At their place that was
It's got their
shuttered.
proprietaries' names, husband and wife. And this was interesting to me. This image here shows them analyzing a CRT document at a Patron facility because the person that's looking at this as part of this alliance has a tag with their name on it, and they're looking at a CRT document in order to verify that they are additive free or not, which confirms my conversation with somebody from Patron, which will remain nameless, who
We
was,
have sources, ladies and gentlemen.
yeah,
You'll survive 26 years in this business and make enemies.
yeah. So I
Don't.
was told by someone who was in the know, who was very, very close to
An insider. We like to call them
insider, right?
insiders. Our sources,
Yes,
We
that
know high friends in low places.
yeah, that at first they were actually this group was analyzing and certifying, so to speak, their tequila using the CRT's lab reports. And that's one of the first complaints the CRT had against them. That's why they had to go and then start looking for other avenues to
A
certify,
third party. A
so to
third
speak.
party.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but at first they were using the CRT's own lab documentation, which
Now,
is
to
very
my knowledge, I watched the Instagram live. This may have been a year and a half ago, where they talked to the gentleman from Tequileño, and he did say that this having this uh, getting this verification of confirmation, whatever the hell they want to call it now, was a pain in the ass because it took it took the AFA like 3 hours to go through their office stuff and to get the seal to be able to say that they're additive free and all that stuff. And it's interesting to me that you would let somebody who was not a government entity take as long, putting their hands on your records. I just,
right.
because there's no telling what, you know, that's like going to Wolfgang Puck and going through his recipe file.
It's true.
That's not going to happen.
It's going through his back office. I mean,
Yeah,
it's interesting you bring that up, Mike, because we've also heard from other tequila companies that were looking to get certified,
right.
authorized, or what have you, that they went through their place pretty quickly and didn't do much
Yes,
of
I've
anything.
heard that too.
And
I've
didn't
heard
do
that
much of
too.
anything.
I think what happened was that as they got more and more resistance and blowback from the CRT, basically, after every meeting, and I'll explain this later, my feeling on that. You know, I think they became the AFA became more and more lenient because I've been told that the AFA showed up at the distillery. They smelled they smelled the samples of tequila. They tasted it. They made notes, and then that was enough to get the particular brand uh, verified,
Right.
certified, whatever the hell. I can't even use another word for it. I mean, I'm trying to, I got to pull up my thesaurus for this one, folks. Um, so I've heard that too. You're right. It went from really intensive work to the more resistance they got. I mean, somebody in the office must have been calling the CRT going, "Hey, there's this couple here."
Yeah. Well, I think it got to
Somebody must
a
have
point.
complained.
Yeah, I think honestly, Mike, it got to a point where Um,
It became rather tedious and it was an interruption of business. I mean,
sure, it was an interruption of business, and I think they had to start cutting corners and just go through the motions to do what they wanted to do. Because this was a business. Even though they
yeah.
denied it many times, this was a business. I mean, even someone high up in Patron told me, yeah, they charged this.
Yeah, look, it says right there on paragraph 34. The goal of S2F's additive-free tequila verification program was to charge fees to tequila companies and retailers in order to obtain S2F's additive-free badges,
Yep.
labels, or signs.
Yes.
It's
Yeah,
right there.
this wasn't a free service. They basically were trying to create a niche and make money, which they did. Who knows? We don't know,
We
but
don't know
we
because,
do know we
yeah.
do know up until, this thing blew up that they were charging thousands of dollars for expression.
I had heard that they had
Yeah.
asked for several thousands. I don't know. I
Yeah.
don't know.
So
It's all
sure, it's all
hearsay.
secondhand. It's all
Yeah.
secondhand information, but I think it's credible enough that someone from a certain brand, for example, told us that even though their distillery was certified or confirmed, they still had to get samples of each product, and each expression would be charged at least $1,000 per expression. So that means if you had four expressions, it would be $4,000. Five expressions, $5,000.
Wow.
Not only did the distillery had to be certified or verified, but also each expression, if you wanted to use their wares to say, I am additive free.
Okay, well, that's
So
licensing. That's basically
yeah,
licensing.
it's
That's
exactly
what
what it
we
is.
do. We do, every awards, from San Francisco to the LA Spirits Awards to SIP Awards, they all license their product. I
Right.
mean, that's where you make the money is in licensing. Some of
Sure.
us prefer to leave a little bit of money on the table. Some of us don't. Some of us, in order for you to enter San Francisco World Spirits, they're going to charge you.
Yeah.
San Diego does the same thing. It's a business. It's a business. It says here that the S2F's verification program allegedly involved representatives from the S2F touring and inspecting distilleries, testing tequila samples, inspecting logbooks and receipts that show purchase of supplies and authorization to view CRT records and access to official CRT lab chemical analysis reports.
I told you.
Exhibit B, which is
Exhibit
what I
B.
think you showed that, didn't you?
Well, that's the one. Yeah, that's the one where
Okay.
they go into that, and that's where I showed you that image that they're actually looking at a CRT document.
Yeah. And again, to their credit, they were as transparent as possible, but it worked to their detriment.
Yeah, because they would say it said on their website, they were given a full tour. They signed a non-disclosure agreement with the distillery. They were authorized to view CRT records to show if any tequila was purchased from any other distillery within one year. Access to official CRT lab chemical analysis. Reports of batches created within 1 year from the date of inspection. Access to agave purchase records. Collection of samples of all the expressions. Side-by-side comparisons of the official CRT witness with a retail version of the same batch. I mean, this is heavy-duty stuff that
But why would they be given this kind of permission
access.
access? That's almost as bad as some South African going into the government and blocking money and getting rid of government agencies that he has no reason to do.
Right.
Oh, I don't know. I'm sorry. Is that a little was that too harsh? I'm sorry.
It's the reality. It's just
But that's what it
what
is, folks. It's just,
what
let me
actually
tell you, let me
surprised
tell
me.
you. Alex and I have been around 26 years. Neither one of us is qualified to read a chemical analysis of a tequila. All right? We've been tasting tequilas for a long time. I let my tongue tell me whether this is real, whether it's a blend of 100% agave, whether it's Taona, whether it's got diffuser junk in it or additives, you know? So what gives these people the right to look at those records that's sacred, man. That's like looking at your tax returns. Oh wait, I'm sorry.
See, the thing is this, Mike, we go back to, all these producers all these producers know that the only certifying body is the CRT.
They
So
know
why are
that.
you letting another third party come in who lives in Mexico and started a company and a movement and has an app to verify if your product is additive free? I mean, obviously this is a marketing thing for the
Well,
distillery.
look how far this it became
Yeah.
cultish, Alex.
Oh
This
yeah, it definitely
this
did.
whole initiative, this whole movement, not only was it misguided, but it became cultish. It became buzzword now. I mean, you have signs at Total Wine that say additive free.
Oh, they have additive free sections. They have additive free sections on menus. And being also in the industry, um, and understanding the challenges that some of these brands are having on the distributor side and even direct, one of the first questions coming out of the retailer's mouth is this additive free?
And Alex and I, when we do training, when we do staff training, because we do that for particular brands, a lot of them will come up and say, well, what do you say when a customer asks you this? You know? And eh, what the additive free question has now become the additive free objection. And we cover this in the revised version of the Catador course for the trade, for the business side of it, which is not totally for the consumer because it's not any the consumer
No,
Catador
no,
course
no.
is for everybody. But for our training purposes and for the industry, it's a whole different, it's more niche, all the way niche down. And you have to find it has become a sales objection. It's just another reason for the guy to say yes or no to get you out of there. All right.
Exactly.
So it doesn't level the playing field. It makes it worse. Okay. Because as a salesperson, I was in sales. You were in sales. You were a wine guy when I met you.
Oh,
I
it hurt.
sold,
It actually hurts.
it hurts.
It hurts. It hurts the industry.
We
Um,
understand. But
because our perspective is different, Mike, because we want people to try a product and choose what they like,
exactly.
no matter what's in it, you
Yeah.
know.
Well,
Um,
we know people who love, they work, as a matter of fact, for really great brands. And one of them said, I don't care what anybody says. I still like my shot of Cava de Oro every night. Okay. Okay. And that's why it exists. That's the beauty of tequila, is that there's so many
sure.
variations and iterations and
It's the same
expressions.
thing with every industry, Mike, even wine.
Oh
You know,
yeah.
you got stuff that I wouldn't touch with a 10-foot pole because it's not my jam.
Yeah.
But for someone else, that's what they love, because they've got a sweet tooth or they don't like stuff that's tannic,
They
so
could go they could
there's
go
some
watch Chateau Garbage.
Chateau. God, I love that guy.
That guy, go check him out on Instagram. He's really funny.
Chateau Garbage,
His
yeah.
job, what he does, he specifically looks for stuff that tastes like crap,
You look for cheap wine.
cheap and bad wine all over the world. And it's funny because we relate to the guy because we've had that happen for us too. We dr- we have sampled everything. And all agave spirits. We don't make a determination until it's gone through, past our lips. After that, if you like it, tell us why. If you don't like it, and I say that at the end of every time we sign off, we say the same thing. And that's what that was all about. But here that was where the argument got really interesting here in this. First of all, this is how bad this this movement became. It said here on paragraph 40 on page 9. The defendants regularly post on social media doing interviews discussing tequila with various press outlets on behalf of one or both of the defendants. As part of those outreach efforts, the defendants made false statements of fact about CRT and tequila. For example, in an article with a subheading, "Is your tequila full of shit?" And I know that article and I know who wrote it.
Well,
That person is a very distinguished journalist, very highly thought of. And I was surprised when I saw that title. Um, so anyway, the Mister states that CRT's process of analyzing tequila for additives is somewhat lacking because the whole thing is based on an honor system. According to the defendant, there is a binder in every distillery where you write down if you put additives in the product or not. The CRT looks at the binder and signs off and moves on. They don't test or smell anything. Exhibit C, Alex.
Let's see. So another 3 pages. This is the Emma Jansen article. Is your tequila full of beep in the Punch magazine?
That article made the rounds all over social media.
Yep. And like you said, it's interesting because this is a um, she's an important author.
She's an important author. She's written a book on mezcal. She's a spirits author. I think she's been recognized by the Tales of the Cocktail.
Yeah, in
Uh,
fact, I've got that book.
yeah,
Yep.
she's no slouch, but she drank the
Yeah,
Kool-Aid.
Mike. Yeah, she drank the Kool-Aid.
She
And
drank the Kool-Aid.
this is the problem with all these people that um were following them, and when everything hit the fan, were basically bad mouthing the CRT without knowing what the heck they were talking about. Uh,
They
taking
called
their
it
side.
they called it bullying. Remember that
Oh
word
yeah,
went
oh
around
yeah,
everywhere.
oh
And
yeah,
we're not trying to be woke, okay? Because that's different. This is not like bullying in school. This is a business and you're protecting your trademark. And how come they waited a year to the day to file this? Because they were doing their due diligence, ladies
right,
and gentlemen.
right,
They were monitoring. It says here, they have monitored all social media was monitored for evidence, is what I'm saying. They posted on Twitter that the defendants were removing all tequila brands from the Additive Free Alliance list to protect them from retribution and legal action from their own regulator for participating in this program. We believe that additive free tequila brands should be able to market themselves as such, but their regulator, the CRT, wants to silence them. And he said that in a video.
right.
That's a video. That video is famous. And boy, that just incites all y'all, all y'all,
Yeah,
the people
it's
that you
unfortunate,
and I
Mike.
ranted about in the first rant.
Yeah, it's unfortunate because everybody comes to their aid not knowing what they are aiding. Okay, it's almost like aiding and abetting because you don't know what these guys are doing. You just, maybe have met them, like their app, and
You
you
know,
follow them.
I
You've learned maybe a
swear,
few things, but
Alex, I'm convinced that their intentions were pure at the
sure.
beginning, but they should have stayed that way. I mean, they have a lovely story together. How they found each other over tequila and their wedding, and they have shared their entire life
Yeah,
on
I
Facebook,
agree.
Instagram,
I,
and it
I
was a
agree.
lovely story. I love that story. I want it. I want to have that love story. You know?
But unfortunately, they had their chances to, I say, collaborate.
Yes, you're
Like they were,
absolutely
they
right.
were in a, they were in a, and I say they were because no more.
No more.
They were in a very good situation, in a good place to collaborate. You had companies like Patron who saw some utility, saw some benefit in working with them. I wonder why they disconnected after a while, even though they still say they work with them. But after this, everybody's going to avoid them like the plague because who wants to be associated with this mess?
Well, there's a paragraph here that I dissected that I'll get to. We'll get to it.
Do it. Let's
But
do
I want to read paragraph 42 on page 10 for those of you who are following along in your epistle. Uh,
it.
I feel like I should be lecturing on a lectern. Anyway, the defendant's statements are both false and misleading and designed to harm the reputation
Oh,
of the CRT. Yikes, that hurts. Further, the defendant's statements were untrue, communicated to the general public, disparaged CRT by name, were made with malice, and have resulted in actual harm
wow.
to CRT. Oh my God, that's one nail, two nails. You just
And
it was
that's
like
not,
a
and
nail in
that's
a
just
lance.
them. Like I mentioned before, everyone else that commented and bad-mouthed the CRT when all this stuff started going down. And you know who you are. And it's unfortunate
We tried
because
to warn you.
You can't do
We
that.
tried it.
You cannot do that.
You can't do that. You can't do that because we have, again, we've been around a long time. We have seen brands come and go, and we've seen brands get shuttered. We have seen brands get busted because they were cartel fronts. We have, you know, that the United States has a law called the Kingpin Act, that if your distillery is owned by a cartel, and your tequila is imported into the United States, even the liquor store owner who has that bottle can't sell it, or he loses his license and he goes to jail, federal jail.
Right.
Okay, this is not. It's a business and it's serious and it's freaking scary. This is scaring me, Alex, and I'll get to why I'm afraid at the end. But so yeah, you know, and I can't fault them. They say they pay the starting cost invoice and await lab results. That's basically what the brand does. The person who on the website, the AFA states that it has 120 brand members, 482 products, 127 plus retail partners, and 48 distillery partners. Okay, that number down here, all these numbers, if you know who you are, you're on this list.
Yep.
They're not naming you by name, but if they have to, they will. If if they need to prove this in court, you want to bet me that they don't have those names already?
They know who you are.
They know who you are. I
That,
just
that and that also includes the influencers out there.
well, there's a paragraph here that I will mention. Uh, the phrase additive free is false and misleading. I'll just read some of the headlines because again, we don't want to go over it. We're beating a dead horse, but that's what this case requires, is it requires repetition. Um, all relevant Mexican government authorities believe that the term additive free is a misleading health-related statement. Health-related.
Right. Look at 52.
Yeah, that's 52 on page 11. And they make an argument here that Profeco, that was the one that I wanted to see. That was Exhibit E, I think. Yes, Exhibit E, you have. And I thought that was the one that I said, that's interesting. I want to see this. Profeco, which is who they went to. This is the referee they went to for a ruling on the DGN opined in relevant part that the certification of the term additive free would cause confusion among consumers and regulated parties and in the conformity assessment activities. And the use of the phrase additive free is as part of the commercial information displayed on the labeling of tequila must be previously verified and not mislead regarding the characteristics and nature of such alcoholic beverage. Exhibit E. Okay. So
Let me see.
and there are tequila brands with that stuff on their label. They can't put that in there anymore. They can't do it. It will not be certified by the CRT in order to be exported into the US. Exhibit E.
This is 7 pages. It starts with that,
Yeah,
and it goes into the symbols that they were using.
right.
Yeah, it's again, it's pretty substantial.
Well, the bottom line, the determination is on paragraph 56. From the consumer protection standpoint, Profeco directed that the phrase additive free misleads and confuses consumers due to its inaccuracy, violating the tequila norm. Violating the tequila norm.
Right. Right. And before that one, Mike, we skipped exhibit D. And that was the circular that went out to all producers, bottlers, and marketers of tequila who are using the additive free.
We saw that every influencer got a copy of that, or yeah, that's exactly what we got. And that we sourced. We didn't get it wasn't sent to us, which is because they don't have any reason to send it to us, but we got it because that's who we are. Um, and basically, this is what it says here. We urge all tequila producers, bottlers, and marketers to avoid the use of the term additive free or similar terms unless in full compliance with the requirements of these authorities and not to mislead consumers into believing that additives permitted by the standards are harmful to health, because they're not. It's in the normas, and we've said this before on previous rants and on previous sipping off the cuffs. We've said this. The normas allowed for 4 abocantes and they are approved.
Additives, advocantes.
Well, additives and abocantes are they don't translate the same.
Right.
Okay, because additives now and I'll get to that point here in a second, but the abocantes are part of the normas and they are not to be harmful for human consumption. That's what the law says. Okay, so in essence, when you see stuff like this on a poster, on a banner, on a website where it says additive free,
Handout, label,
you can't use it.
box.
It's got to come down. You got to take it off. And at this point, this is a PSA to the brands because we love the brands. I mean, this is a great brand.
Oh yeah.
We haven't done the review yet, but
In essence, I would think that would be extended also to the retailers.
yeah. Well, they have a list of the retailers, man. They know how many they got. It's like nobody escapes this. Nobody escapes this. Okay, you can't do this anymore. You and
Right.
I have been to functions where the additive free is on the label and on the banner.
The banner.
And I remember you looked at me as this particular brand. We walked into a function that we were invited to, and Alex looked at me and goes, at this point it just kind of cheapens the brand
Right.
to say that, to have to prove it. Our interview with Sammy and Guy. What did Sammy say? He goes, it's embarrassing. He says, we just make real tequila. We just make it the right way.
Right.
You know, and and he's right. Is why do we have to prove that?
Right.
And I believe I get it. You don't have to. This all that does is you have just created another objection against the sale of your tequila, or anybody else's tequila. Um,
All right. Where are you?
These abocantes on paragraph 60, page 13. These abocantes are sometimes naturally occurring byproducts of the same distillation and aging process, which may also be added in certain amounts as per the tequila norm. The tequila norm permits up to 1% weight by volume, 100% agave tequila, to consist of abocantes. You notice that in this term, they distinguish between abocantes and additives. They
Right.
have to make that distinction on this complaint. Consist of abocantes without any change to the bottle's label, that is, without listing the inclusion of any abocantes, as long as the producer keeps corresponding records of the raw material used. The tequila norms requirements are much stricter than those currently imposed by the U.S. law, which permits the use of I, essential component additives, and double I, non-essential components, additives up to 2.5% in tequila. So it's even more stringent than the tequila norms, which I was not aware of. That's news to me, but apparently it does exist. Agave spirits may contain added flavoring or coloring materials as authorized by, and they give you the paragraph number, and this must be the TTB
Right.
listing down there, the TTB reference. TTB is the Tobacco Tax and Trade Bureau that they issue the colas, and the colas are how you get your label. That's how you get your label into the United States. Again, this is a process that we cover in the Consumer Catador course, so we explain it to you how it gets to your shelf. Okay, how these brands get labels, basically. Because abocantes can be, this is page 14, paragraph 63. And they mention, okay, I'll mention it really quickly. Glycerin, caramel coloring, oak extract, and jarabe or sugar-based syrup. Those are the 4 that are allowed. That's it. Okay? Because abocantes can be added per the tequila norm or naturally occurring, there is no scientific way to certify that a tequila is additive free. And that's a fact. That's a science fact.
Right.
And I know 2 master distillers who are, now see, all master distillers, Most of them are ingenieros. In other words, they're chemical engineers. They have their degree in chemistry. Uh, Carlos Camarena is an ingeniero. In fact, when I see Carlos, you always refer to them as it's like saying Don Julio. So I don't call him Don Carlos. I call him ingeniero. When I talk to Ingeniero Solis, Leopoldo Solis, and who invented the Mozart method, he's an ingeniero. That's a term of that's a title that you earn. That's like calling somebody a lawyer. You call counselor when you call a lawyer counselor,
Doctor, you call him a doctor,
doctor.
Dr.
Yeah,
So-and-so.
yeah. So it's so anyway. Uh, that's that's the biggest one is you can't prove it. You can't prove it. Also, it says on paragraph 66, as determined by the CRT and explained below, the term additive free is a misleading health-related statement. Okay. They make a reference here to an independent organizations found that additive free claims are regarded as positive and healthy. So in essence, and they make an interesting argument. I will go here on page 15. They reference another article, which I found last night. It's one that escaped me. Uh, these perceptions are creating a notable and negative impact on tequila. And they are, but not in the way they've been presented by some of you influencer marketer people, and you know who you are. These perceptions are creating a notable negative impact on the tequila industry. One industry expert noted that many people drinking additive-free tequila consider themselves purists. Why drink a tequila with additives and added sugars that will give you a hangover when you have a clean tequila? And even claiming it gives you a hangover is incorrect. And we've said this before. We've said it before. I don't, we've gone on record before. Just find anything, you know, you can't. Now, I have seen people who have been very allergic. I met a young lady years ago who was allergic to Blanco tequila. She loved Blanco tequila, but she said that her insides would get inflamed. She would like balloon up, So she could only go like reposado or añejos, but she didn't like the flavor of the wood so much as she really enjoyed, but she couldn't, and that's just a sensitivity that your body has. That you can't fight that. That's
Right.
not the fault of the tequila.
No, not at all.
So if you have a sensitivity to maybe I remember before they discovered filtration, some of the stuff in French oak barrels would give me a headache because the residue was still in the liquid. Now they filter everything out. Everything is filtered out, so it's rare that you'll see residue from French oak or any oak at the bottom of any barrel or at the bottom of any bottle. Um, but in the old days when they were playing around with a cognac barrel, yeah, that kind of hurt a little bit.
Or even sulfites. I mean, sulfites naturally occur, and you have also added sulfites, right? So
Right.
some will be sensitive to sulfites, but it isn't, that's just your body, your makeup.
Uh, it says this on paragraph 71, this harms the tequila industry as consumers are led to believe, one, there is something harmful or unhealthy about tequila that does not advertise itself in this fashion, and two, additive-free tequila is an approved certified category of tequila, which is not. So there is confusion there, and
Right.
there had been.
Yeah, there is.
Yeah,
Definitely, again, misinformation.
misinformation. Um, let me see. Okay.
Well, here in 72 says, because additive free and free of additives violates CRT standards and rules, defendants should be enjoined from further using and promoting this phrase, including by enjoining their additive free certification programs.
Now I looked up the word enjoining because some of these, again, it's legalese. Okay, it is English, but it's legalese. Enjoining it means the definition according to law, as referring to the law, to prohibit or restrain by an injunction or ban.
It's a
Okay,
cease and desist.
cease and desist. Yeah. Um, let me let me. There's a paragraph here that really brought things home to me.
There's a few more pages left, everybody.
Yes.
We're almost through the
We're only on page
document.
16, but there's a couple of pages here.
16 of 19.
Yes, but there are some really, as you go further and further into the case, it gets the evidence against gets denser and denser, and it's kind of like a great tequila with layers. First you get the aroma, you get the legs and tears, but then when you get to the bottom, it's like, wow, you're getting some really punchy agave, right? We're
Onion.
getting to the punchy agave. All right, this is how we're doing it. Um, the claims for relief, which means this is what we are entitled to under the Lanham Act, okay? Which I cited at the beginning of this rant. On number 70, yeah. On paragraph 76, the CRT is entitled to recover defendant's profits, CRT's actual damages, and the costs of this action. CRT is further entitled to recover treble damages. The word treble means three times the damages, and attorney's fees under, and they cite the law, as this is an exceptional case due to defendant's willful conduct.
Oof.
Oh my God.
Ouch.
Oh, oh my God, that's so bad. The defendant's intentional and willful infringement of the tequila mark has caused and will continue to cause damage to CRT and is causing irreparable harm to the CRT for which there is no adequate remedy at law. There's no value. There's no, you can't put a number on this, on the
No.
harm. Okay. Therefore, the CRT is entitled to injunctive relief against defendants. Injunctive means, again, a cease and desist.
Wow. Whew.
That's just, oh my
That's
God,
heavy
that's so,
duty.
so bad. It's
That is
so
heavy duty.
bad. It's just on paragraph on page 17, paragraph 78 after the second count number two. False description under the Lanham Act. The CRT alleges and incorporates by reference the allegations set forth in the preceding paragraphs. The CRT is the owner of a valid, enforceable, incontestable U.S. registration for the certification mark tequila. That's a fact, ladies and gentlemen. That's a law fact. Defendants have used and continue to use in commerce one or more words, terms, names, symbols, devices, designs, and combinations thereof that are false or misleading description of fact or false or misleading representation of fact, misleading representation of fact, which is likely to cause confusion or to cause mistake or to deceive as to the affiliation, connection, or association of such person or with another person, or as to the origin, sponsorship, or approval of his or her goods, services, or commercial activities by another person, or in commercial advertising or promotion misrepresents the nature, characteristics, qualities, or geographic origin of his or another person's goods, services, or commercial activities.
That covers everything.
That's everything.
Everybody.
That's everybody.
Everybody.
Everybody. If you didn't want to get on that bus, you better get on that bus now because it's going to leave without you. And it's not a threat. They're just doing their job. They're taking care of a trademark. This is what happened. If we were talking about a pair of jeans or a factory making false Mickey Mouse dolls, it would be the same thing. The only difference is it's liquor for us. It's tequila.
Right.
But the law covers all industries. I mean, from computer chips to booze. Okay. Um, I want to see.
Yeah, and 81 again says the actions of defendants described above at all times relevant to this action been willful and intentional. So again, and this encompasses in paragraph 80, anyone out there that's been affiliated with TMM and the additive free movement, those influencers out there that have gone on these trips, those of you that get online and badmouth the CRT and the Mexican government, and do what you do for your followers, guess what? You're on the radar. and you're part of this.
And did
Shame.
you want to between page 18 and 20, was there something specific that you wanted to cover? Because
Uh,
I have
did you want to
one,
highlight dilution?
yeah, explain dilution. Isn't that part of that dilution means that you have a strong trademark, but because of your actions, you're diluting the trademark and
To strengthen it.
you're confusing the public. Yeah, it's tequila, but it's got additives. Yeah, yeah.
Right.
You know,
That's why in the beginning of this complaint had mentioned that tequila is a famous, I quote, famous trademark, right?
yep.
And it's a serious thing. This is a serious thing. They will fight tooth and nail to make sure that the dirt is not put on to this trademark to a degree that it hurts their business. It hurts their trademark.
Yeah,
It
I mean,
hurts
they've
their
proven.
patrimonio, which is because not only is it a trademark, but now we're talking about a country. So it's not just a trademark like we know it. It's you're also bad mouthing a country and the way they rule these products. Because again, it is a denomination of origin, just like they have one for coffee and they have one for other things across the country. They have the most
Champagne.
denominations of origins
Yes.
in the world is in Mexico. And in essence, you're bad mouthing Mexico.
Well, we talk about how we love the jimadores and we love the laborers and how unfair things are, and you know, and there are to some of these brands credit, they're doing their best to help the communities that they're where they're distilling. I know one of them is, working with water. We have other nonprofits who are making, bricks out of fibers, which, I have my problems with that. But they're doing something.
Sure.
These nonprofits are doing something. And AFA considers itself a nonprofit. What are they doing? So I don't know. I'm not going to go into that because that's more of a moral situation and how you prove to be a nonprofit organization. We know people with nonprofits that they have them because that's where they hide their money. Okay, it becomes a device to hide money too, and
Right.
I don't know if that's the case or not. I don't care. I'm not a lawyer. Don't care. All right. Um, the prayer for relief in when they put that paragraph on page 19, the prayer means it's a statement of damages. Okay, that's again another legalese term. I'm trying to interpret for those of you who are legal impaired, because I had to look it up too. So because I don't prayer for relief.
Yeah, it's because
For
your
me,
English,
prayer for relief is
it's
that
because it's because
we're
your English is not very good looking.
right. We're in the middle of Lent, so a prayer for relief is that's why I'm wearing purple, folks. Anyway, this is this is this is the most telling paragraph. The prayer for relief. Thank you. As if I try to show you mine, look at all the notes I've made. I really dissect this stuff like I do tequila. I mean, maybe I should have been a lawyer. I don't know. I got a big mouth, but who knows? Anyway, wherefore, CRT respectfully prays that the court enter judgment in its favor on each and every claim for relief set forth above and award it relief against defendants, including but not limited to, in accordance
There's
with,
more to come to me.
oh yeah, there's more to come. In accordance with 15 USC, and they cite the paragraph in the law, issue a permanent injunction enjoining defendants and defendants' officers, agents, servants, employees, affiliates,
Affiliates.
contractors, and attorneys, and all persons in active concert or participation with defendants from the acts described in this complaint, including enjoining defendants from offering any programs confirming or certifying tequila as additive free. Do you want me to go through that list again? Listen to this. Officers, agents, servants, employees, affiliates, contractors, and attorneys, and all persons in active concert or participation, doesn't even have to be active concert, just participation with defendants from the acts described in this complaint, including enjoining defendants from offering any programs confirming or certifying tequila as additive free.
That can actually be a post on Instagram, a post on Facebook, a podcast, your voice, your pictures um, that are related to this complaint.
And you know who you are. Your participation, your photographs, your Instagram, off camera, when we did our first rant, which is almost a year ago, if you can believe that. Um, Alex and I talked about this. How are we going to approach this? What are we going to do on episode 1? This is episode 2, only our second episode of the rant. And I said to Alex, watch. The CRT is no dummy. It's not their first rodeo. I've said this before. They've protected their trademarks successfully every single time, whether in court or by, meetings. Every time, every time the 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 uh, the defendant would make a post and say we had a meeting with the CRT and they made us change the wording, and again, to their credit, they were putting it out there to be transparent. I get that. But every single one of those posts has been downloaded. It is in somebody's hard drive. It's on a portable hard drive somewhere. I don't know how many terabytes of not only theirs, because that's all it takes. You can download those videos from their YouTube channel, from Instagram. It's all, if it goes that far, that's evidence, folks. That's evidence. They won't mention you, they won't name you, they'll just say, oh, but there was an entire movement. They list the people. They list all their associates that they posted you guys again on page 10. 120 member brands, 482 products, 127 plus retail partners, and 48 distillery partners. All y'all are on notice. Todo mundo tiene que get off that bus.
Rendir cuentas. Yeah.
You can't. That means on your posters, your social media, your websites. And if you don't think they can't do anything like that, well, if they don't, they have the right now. If they win this case, which, Alex, I don't see them not winning the case. I think the CRT will prevail because they have had previous, experience. But secondly, every single time that the defendant went online and said, well, we had a meeting, or they made us do this, or they made us do that, or now we're taking down everybody because your regulator is gonna we're afraid. Everything that they did prior to this, when it got to this point, was like what you said. It was a warning. It was a warning. You read the room. Read the room. Okay. It's almost like, here's this gal that's flirting with you and flirting with you, but you don't know she's flirting with you or screwing with you, right? Take the message. Instead of telling me you're against additives, tell me what you're for. Tell me what you're for. I can tell you don't drink the shit that tastes too sweet, you know, but it's not my job to do that. Our job at Tequila Aficionado is to present the evidence in as fair a way as we possibly can and let you, the viewer, you, the consumer, be the final judge. Drink what you want. You're gonna buy it anyway, you know. Um, but don't pretend that you think you know that this is better than that. Because there are some organic tequilas that don't taste very good. They're kind of weak, and we've had them. They've all come through us, and we're gonna get more. This is a big year for us. We've had more submissions. You should see my living room floor. We have more stuff. I think Alex does all our production on YouTube, and he's got a queue. He's got a queue as long as your arm. Alex, where 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 do we see this going? I I think they're going to win.
No,
I don't see how they can lose.
I agree. It's unfortunate. We don't wish bad on anyone. We don't wish bad
No,
on this
we
organization.
didn't want anybody to get
No,
hurt.
no, no. And honestly, things could have been worse. Um,
I don't know how bad this can get.
no,
This is
yeah.
bad. Everybody, this means this paragraph here that I mentioned and reread
Oh, yeah.
twice, that means that even reputable journalists who wrote, who have a subtitle, that was just clickbait. I mean, that probably wasn't even her. That was her editor. They get, is your tequila full of shit? Well, that's going to get a lot of views, right? You know, it probably to her credit, maybe she didn't give that, but you're on the radar.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. No, it's unfortunate. They will be dealt with. The CRT has a very, very good case because everything that they've listed on here is what's happened. They
Yeah,
have
it's just a
damaged,
timeline.
they have
Yeah.
damaged, yeah, they have damaged the reputation of the CRT. They have affected it in such a way that it has changed consumer perception. Um, and
Yes.
and it has harmed and it is harming the trademark of tequila. And tequila had a long ride to come above. You and I know this, to get above the
The shooter image.
yeah, the shooter image and the ugly image that it had in the past of not being a quality spirit. Well, we all know that it's a very, very good quality spirit. It's one of the finest spirits on earth. So they've come above that, you know, to now have to deal with something like this. So obviously they will fight to keep their image, to keep the tequila brand unscathed and for it to be a luxury product. Because we're not just talking about the US market. We're
No,
talking about the
it's
world
global.
market.
This is
It's
a
a
global
global
market.
market. You're talking about Europe, you're talking about Spain, you're talking about China. So I've heard that this term of additive free has already reached some of these countries.
Well, for
Trying
instance,
to,
those seals, uh, there was an interview I watched. Somebody was interviewing the tequila, the CRT representative in Shanghai, and I guess somehow she was in Mexico at the time, so they got a hold of her. Um, she said at that point through the interview that the additive-free label doesn't mean anything in China. They
right.
can't use it anyway. So AFA was strictly US, and then once it starts crossing the pond and all that, I'm sorry that that's where I say they can find you with the if you decided to run and go to Panama, they still would have found you because they have
Interpol.
Interpol.
So Mike, again, this prayers for relief. You want to finish it off? Uh,
Uh, well, if you want to follow up, but that paragraph alone scares me. I mean, okay, here we go. Paragraph 3. In accordance to the law, they cite the law. Find this case to be exceptional in the CRT's favor and award CRT its reasonable attorney fees, costs, and expenses of this action. Paragraph 4. Award CRT its costs and prejudgment and post-judgment interest at the maximum allowable interest rate. Actual treble and exemplary damages.
three
Treble is
times.
3 times. Grant CRT such other relief at law or in equity, and I looked that term up too, I'll explain it in a second, to which it is justly entitled. At equity is courts use it when a legal remedy is not enough or is inadequate.
Wow.
It's almost like it's almost like this, and it's really is true. This case is it's presidential in the case in the fact that it's still based on the Lanham Act, but they've never basically they're saying they've never had to fight for the term additive because additives, and we've said this in our podcast, in our tastings, additives and avocantes don't translate. They don't mean the same. How many Alex has sent me on Instagram videos of what additives really do. Just additives in the American food chain alone will kill us. You don't talk about additives that you're afraid of. And I've said this before. I've said it.
Yeah,
I've tasted
colors and flavors and
these companies, these additive companies. They tell us what color and flavor blueberry should be when it's not. You know, strawberry. What's your the same person that is drinking the additive free tequila is also eating his Pop Tarts. You
yeah,
know, with what should be strawberry jam, but we're not sure.
sure. And I just saw the news. What's his name? Kennedy looking to ban Trump's favorite drink. Guess what? Guess which one? The one in the red can.
Oh, Coke?
Coca-Cola.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah.
Well,
So
it's already been, for other reasons, it's been boycotted. Uh,
right.
Coke is the largest selling soft drink in Mexico up until recently.
Yeah,
There's
it's
a
crazy. It's crazy what's happening. That's another rant for another day.
Yeah, yeah. But anyway, that's everything that we know of this court case.
Wow.
And I don't think, as far as I know, not all the evidence is submitted. That picture, I'm willing to bet that that picture of the table and desk, that looks like the inside of the defendant's home in Mexico before it was shuttered. And I forget which exhibit number that was. It's like, wow, man, I rest my case.
Yeah, it's heavy duty. Like we said before, it's unfortunate.
It
But
didn't
like
need to
we
come to
said,
this
no,
point.
and like we said, the writing was on the wall. And there it is, folks. It's the demise of this organization.
And this movement.
Yeah, and this movement. And like you
It
said
should,
before,
at this point, it shouldn't, it's a moot point.
yeah,
It's a moot
we said
point.
before, with some of our contacts have said that there's no coming back from this. There's no coming back from this. You can get a copy of this yourself. Google it, you'll find it. It's public information. No need to give you a link on that. You can find it yourself. It's available. It's available. But again, like we've reiterated, watch your back. Be careful what you're commenting on and who you're quote unquote trashing, because it will come back to you. It
You
will
know,
come.
you there's a unwritten law, unwritten rule in tequila, and we've all seen it, where you try not to bash other brands, and you don't do that because very often you're in the same function at the same show with the other brand that you don't particularly care for. Maybe you don't like the owners, you don't like the way they do business. Maybe you've heard something funny about the way they conduct their agave. Whatever. It doesn't matter. Be nice. Or don't. Don't but by the same token, you're talking about like what you said, Alex. At this point, they stopped one tier below, going, hey, this is our patrimony, because again, the U.S. courts do not recognize patrimony or denominations of origin, but they are recognizing the trademark, and that's what this is based on.
Right. And
Every
that's
single
here in this country,
That's here in this country.
but it runs deep on the other side.
Yeah, but the thing of it is, every single time they had a meeting, every single time that they came back from an advisory meeting or whatever, um, they should have taken that, they should have collaborated. There had to have been a way to make this work, because otherwise I don't see why they would have initiated this movement in the first place.
Right.
I mean, if you're not going to be passionate about it, great. If you're just making a business and you want to charge brands for it, you got to there's got to be a why. What was the why? And where did they lose the why? You know, to our credit, Alex, we haven't lost our why. For us, it's always been about education and 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 helping people make up their own minds,
Right.
no matter what it is that's coming across our desk. Okay. I know for a fact the defendants had no palate for Sotol, for instance. But at first glance, my one and only meeting with the defendant was online, and he trashed Sotol. And it's like, okay, well, just because you don't like a particular agave spirit doesn't it's not to your liking. That's cool. I get it. But you don't have to trash it and say, well, it's like tastes like garbage, tastes like gasoline. It's like, okay, well, you know who you're trashing, right? These are the same people that have the first permit to export tequila to export Sotol into the United States. That's a family brand you're trashing.
Right.
So again, be careful. So you don't like them, and yeah, but they're the final rule. That's just it. A very smart woman said to me not too long ago that the people that own the person that owns the brand, the people that own the trademark own the brand. That's the bottom line. And whether we like it or not, they gave them every chance to get out, to pivot, at least pivot.
Sure.
You
Sure.
know,
They gave him fair warning.
yeah, that was
Again,
fair warning.
yeah, like you said, I think they had good intention to begin with. They were redirected, right? And they could have used that opportunity to collaborate, but unfortunately they didn't. A lot of times you think you have the right to do what you're doing, even in this country, right? That you have the right to do this, you have the right to do that, like the whole movement, which is very dangerous against the authorities, right? To video them and I understand that because nowadays you want to protect yourself, but to the point where you have this blatant disrespect for the authority, just because you can, do that in some other country, do that in Cuba, you'll be dragged into you'll be dragged into jail. So
Yeah,
so
they won't see you for months.
right, right. So in this particular case, you have Americans, I believe they're American, right?
Yeah,
Um,
I think so.
yeah, doing this in the town, in Mexico, and bad mouthing the Mexican agency, which is the CRT. I mean, how do you think that there aren't going to be any repercussions? This isn't, you don't have the same laws that you have in Mexico. And obviously, because of trademark law, there's no escaping what's happened. So
No,
again, it's unfortunate, but this is a lesson. This is a lesson because um, a lesson in trademark, a lesson in business,
it
and
should be. It should be. And again, we're going to speak to the influencers and the tequila experts and the journalists. Do your due diligence. If you did your due diligence half as well as this law firm and the CRT, because the CRT had to do their due diligence first
sure,
before they would find a lawyer that would take their case, right?
I'm sure they've been doing this for a while.
At least a year, maybe two. This is, and that's not all the evidence, folks. I'm willing to bet you this is not all the evidence. So it'll be interesting to see. And again, I don't even know if you can even settle out of court. Can you settle out of court when you're demanding a jury trial? I don't know if these can be settled out of court. I'm gonna have to talk to my legal friends.
I think you'd have to have a few million to settle settle out of court. Again, you highlighted this. How do you put a number to the damage that's been caused and is being caused and will be caused because of what this has been set in motion?
Yes,
You
this is a
can't put a
long
number on
term.
it.
Yeah, this is a long term. They're looking for an injunction.
Right,
They're basically telling the court that we need you to help us stop the phrase additive free,
right.
which stops the movement in its tracks because the movement is false and misleading. And we've been saying that from day one. It's like, why did it have to come to that? Why didn't you guys listen to us in the first place? Why? I'm honestly, my heart goes out to the defendants. They've been in the business for a while. They based their relationship on really good tequila.
Right.
And,
And they've
and
got
they had a,
some good relationships too in the tequila industry.
yeah, and I've heard nothing but glowing reports from them, from other people who've met them. And,
Sure,
you know,
sure.
but But the actions speak louder than the words, and the evidence is what will be taken into consideration in a court of law.
Yeah.
And the evidence doesn't look good.
Yeah. It's interesting.
Transparency worked against you in this case.
Yeah. And nothing wrong with transparency. It's just get your facts right. You got to get the information right. Um, I don't know, honestly, looking deeper, it's like you said, what's the why, right? What's the intention behind what they were doing?
Well,
Uh,
I know that at the beginning when they talked about it in a couple of their interviews, a couple of their podcasts and on their website, they talked about how when they found out that some tequilas had additives, they felt cheated or they felt like we didn't know that. And I thought to myself, what, you didn't read the normas? And additives and avocantes are two separate things.
right.
Okay, the additives that they put in our food will kill you. Okay, and there's a way to fix that. But this stuff has to not kill people, and it's
Of
only
course.
four.
Of
Yeah,
course.
there's a loophole as to what the dry versus the and what kind of sweeteners they're using and all that stuff. Okay, that's where the science comes in, and I'm going to worry. Let the scientists worry about that stuff. But to this point, scientifically, you can't test it for additives. I've heard that from two really good ingenieros, chemical engineers, that it's very difficult to test for stuff like that. You can start eliminating stuff. I mean, I'm sure there's a way somebody's going to find it, but you know, nobody's going to take the time to do it, or they are, and they got a lot of time in their hands. But I just don't. I fear for them because this is serious stuff, man. This scares me. It scares me because of it was even harsher than the case that Clase Azul brought against Casa Azul. It was not as deep as this.
Oh, no, no. And that was really talking about companies and the right to use the name. Here, this is completely different. This is they are accusing this organization of damaging the CRT and the trademark tequila. So this is really, really serious stuff. And anyone that's involved with this, watch what you're doing, because it's gonna splatter all over you.
Yeah, please be careful. Don't. This movement is, by all intents and purposes, just filing this. Just the filing of this has put an end to this movement
Yeah.
for retailers, for brands. And I know that, startup brands, I have a box I just found the other day from a particular tequila, and they have it on their nice display box. Additive free, Asombroso had a brand, and that was part of their marketing campaign. They had the neck tag, add AFA, and
And that affects all these brands because they spend thousands of dollars on marketing, thousands
yeah,
of
these
dollars on,
banners, these banners and licensing, this wasn't cheap.
well,
This isn't cheap. Now you got to replace all that shit. You got to replace it all, and you got to pay your webmaster to take all that stuff off the website.
yeah, it's a costly thing.
And a lot of startup brands don't have that kind of money.
Right.
It's like,
Again, Mike, like you said, they should have done their homework. They should have realized that this is not something that is is a factor because the CRT doesn't endorse it.
no, it never has, and
So
it
there,
never will.
there you have it.
So anyway, folks, that's our rant. We've gone like an hour and a half, maybe almost 2 hours, but
Woo!
we had a lot to cover and we had a lot to say and a lot to reiterate, in this case. As far as I'm concerned, I don't know about Alex, it should never have gotten to this point.
No, it's actually very sad.
Yeah.
It's very sad
And then
because
also, I think what surprised me, especially with the first rant that we did, what surprised me was the size and the scope of the movement because it was cultish. This just turned into a cult.
yes,
When you have reputable, I mean, well sought after journalists who are quoted in this, they are submitted as part of evidence. I'm sorry, man. Somebody somewhere drank that Kool-Aid
Yeah.
and should never, it should never, because journalists, they don't make a lot of money. They have prestige and they make a lot of books and
No,
stuff
plus,
like that.
plus you
But
need to be objective. You
yeah,
need to be objective. I pride ourselves in Tequila Aficionado that that's always been our mission is to be objective,
yeah,
right? We'll admit, what we like and why we like it, but we're objective, right? Because at the end of the day, it's you're the ones that makes it the choice or the decision. Even with what we've gone over today, this is public information. Go look at it. We've read what's out there. This is a legal document, and you can make your own conclusion, but it's pretty damning.
it's intense.
It's pretty detrimental to this group.
Yes, to the movement and to the defendant. And God bless them. All I can say is God bless them. I hope they figure a way out. I don't know how. I put myself in their shoes. Let's say it was something that me and my wife put together, and or my ex-wife, or I don't know, whoever, my future wife, uh, and uh, and we started something, that had a really sweet intention, and then we got, I don't know, greedy, or we lost our way, and now they want to take away my house, or they want to take away the little money that I had, the stuff that I had to leave in Mexico because I put myself in their shoes. What would I do
Sure,
if I were
sure.
in there? And I'm afraid, man. I all of a sudden got really fearful, especially when I read that last paragraph, because it's like, oh, really? I didn't even, you know, again, this case is so thorough. This is like if you're a law student, this is a great case for you. Especially,
Yeah, once this goes through, Mike, this is going to be a landmark case
oh, I
for
believe it. I
history.
believe it.
Yeah, it's going to be a landmark case. And
And
it's
then what'll happen is now the CRT, if they win, the CRT will now turn around and enforce that. So for those again, and I worry about the startup brands, because you know how many times we've seen startup brands come and go and had really big brands of promise. That's what we call them, brands of promise for us. And for those of you who are lagging behind, for those of you who don't take this seriously, for those of you who have stuff in your pipeline, get rid of it.
right,
Get rid of it. I know it's an extra cost. I get it. We didn't do it, you know, that but get rid of your banners, get rid of that phrase, get rid of your posters, get
right.
rid of your neck tags, get rid of the no, the copy on your website, because they're going to turn around and they're going to enforce that. And
Now,
that's when the hammer comes down. You
let me ask you this.
know,
Don't mean
okay.
to interrupt you.
Okay, ask me. Ask me.
What just came out not too long ago with Bacardi and Patron. That's pretty borderline.
Yeah.
Or is it? So again, the timing on this too is pretty interesting because they came out with their commercial right when this was hitting. So my question is Patron, who is owned by Bacardi, are they walking on that line? Because Patron has been slapped on the hand before,
Right.
and they were told not to use the term additive free, even though they obviously are additive free they've told me.
Well, even people that we know that have been invited. By the
Yeah,
way, Patron, you've never invited Tequila Aficionado to the hacienda.
yeah.
I have a
Well,
problem with that.
I mean, again, I'm not going to say who, but I've got a very, very good source that knows what the heck they're talking about. Tell me that I shouldn't have to get a certification because the CRT already tells me I'm additive free, right? So
Yeah.
why can't I say I'm additive free if the CRT tells me I'm additive free? Yet the CRT doesn't want us to say we are additive free.
Well, because
So
they make it a point in this court case that there were brands, other distilleries who did not participate in the program, but because they didn't participate, people
right,
were not buying their product as well.
exactly, exactly.
See, and you and I have made this distinction before. Look, we know what distillery it is that is known for using additives. But you know what? And they have several brands. They're maquiladora. In other words, they make tequila for lots of different brands. But here's my point. They create jobs. They are keeping people employed. That's the bottom line. Maybe one or two of the brands in that distillery don't use any additives, and maybe the rest do. What matters is that they're employing Mexican. They're employing. You look at you look at any of the big brands who have diffusers. They only you don't see any employees hacking agave. There are no employees picking up. If you don't believe me, look up Leiros. Go ahead and look it up. They have one guy with a bulldozer. They don't chop things. Let the diffuser
That's
chop things.
all. That's all they need.
Yeah, they have chemical engineers. They pay the chemical engineers, but that's there's no labor force. So my point is, yeah, okay, don't drink their tequila or don't drink this brand, drink the other one. Whatever you want to do. But remember one thing, they keep people employed. They keep the jimadores employed. Okay, so that's the double edge. Now, as far as Bacardi and Patron, there's lots of I don't all I can say is, and I don't want to say it on camera. I've said it to you off camera, and I'll say it to people off camera. All I can say is follow the money. Follow the money. Again, your research is public. You can do it. If I can do it, you can do it. Find out who makes that agave vodka. I haven't had it yet. Go. They've been interviewed. They've done Instagram lives. Find out who the principals are. Find out who they used to work for. Reverse engineer, follow the money.
Follow the money.
Follow the money. Now, as far as running a campaign, that goes against what this court case says. I don't know. It's like this movement should never have gotten this far to 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 compel a global brand to run an additive-free campaign on their trucks.
Right. And I think we mentioned this before, Mike, not to talk against the CRT, but this should have nipped it in the butt from the very beginning. They should have nipped it in the butt. But they
Maybe
were
they thought it wasn't going to go very
true,
far, you
true,
know.
true. I agree. But if they would have been nipped in the butt from the very beginning, they wouldn't have gotten this far.
Yeah, it's
But
a
again, like you said, who knew?
who knew? This is the effect of social media
Right.
and misinformation and disinformation and how prevalent it is. I mean, social media has controlled how people vote now. We saw
Right.
that.
Right.
Did we learn nothing? Did we learn nothing the first time around? You know, I mean, we grew up, Alex, you and I grew up when we only had dial-up. We had our voice. In fact, it was funny. I told Alex, "Hey, do you remember when we did that review?" And he goes, "No, man, I don't remember." So I sent him a link, and the link was to an audio-only review that we had that our then managing partner had posted on YouTube with some graphics and stuff, and so we turned an audio into a video to have it on YouTube. So I sent them the YouTube link, but it's just our voices. And we started up when there was no social media. We had
No YouTube, no
no
Instagram,
YouTube, no
no
nothing. We had
Facebook.
dial-up, no Facebook, and now look what it's come to. Now you've got all these tech moguls who are
No, now you've got other countries influencing art of social media.
yeah,
No,
and
it's
it and this hindered. I mean, it really did hinder the CRT's ability to fight it.
right.
Because they don't do a whole lot with their own social media. I mean, they don't have they put up instructional videos and they do call outs to their own industry, but they're very, they're not very commercial. They don't have some young lady doing videos about, when distillery, that distillery. They let the brand ambassadors do stuff like that. But
Sure.
so this is I think it's a case study in how not to use your social media and your following, or how your social media and your following was used.
Oh,
Because it goes both ways, Alex.
yeah, you're right.
We that's why we don't do these rants very often because we argue with each other and we go, no, we don't want to sound like this, and because we're consumers, we're like anybody else. We're gonna bitch and moan and complain about, stuff that's going on in the industry, but is it worth our time to talk about? Not until it gets like this. Because we've been talking about it too. Probably as long as the CRT's been trying to fight it. Um, Read the normas. That's also a public record, and I have them in English and Spanish, and that's part of our consumer catador course. The big part of our course is about education. It's not just about tasting tequila and sniffing it and writing your notes. There's more to it than that, and it's how deep down this rabbit hole you want to go. They didn't have to go very far. They really didn't have to do. You just read the normas. Read the normas. Do a little research. You know, Google's better now than it used to be when we started. Now you got AI bringing you resumes of summaries of all that. It picks it from all over the web and gives you
Right.
an AI written paragraph. So I don't have to go very far for my research anymore. In the past, we did, and I did, and all I can say is my heart goes out to those folks. I don't know. I have no idea. I'm going to have to talk to some of my lawyer friends and find out if something like this can be settled out of court to the satisfaction of the CRT. Maybe it'll take an apology. Oh, a public apology.
Ooh,
Yikes.
we'll
Ah,
definitely have to do a follow-up on this. That's for sure.
yeah, yeah. Folks, again, that's our take on the rant, and that's the case of the CRT versus the AFA. If you're watching this and you stuck it all out with us, thank you for staying. Thank you for subscribing. Hit the notification bell. Give us a like. By the way, leave us your comment. Let us know what you think. I want to know what you think.
Yes, we do.
Tell us what you think. Just be careful what you say, because Big
The
Daddy
internet
is
does
watching.
not
And it's
forget.
not, again, it's not because it's Big Brother watching, okay? It's not about that. It's the fact that social media is social. It's everywhere. And, we do our best to try to police um some of the comments that we get, that we can, because we own the social media, so we can delete your comment, we can ban you from the website, we can do stuff like that. We don't wanna, if it's a legitimate, concern. And I'm all for debate.
Sure.
Let's
I've
talk about
I've
this.
been
How do we,
banned, so don't feel bad.
yeah, yeah,
I've been banned from websites.
how do we, yeah, you have, for shit, as actually, as I recall. Um, but yeah, how how would you fix it? How would you make this work? If you're watching us and you really believe in the additive free movement, do you know that the defendant had posted on one post on Facebook about organic tequilas containing additives, and the defendant said to me, "You'd be surprised." Well, now you're going to get your chance in court to prove it,
Right,
because as you saw in the complaint, it was alleged that they went to a third party, lab, but nobody's ever seen the lab results.
right.
At least not publicly, and that's okay. I don't need to see it because I'm not a scientist. I can't read them. I'll have to go talk to my scientist friends to tell me what the difference. See, I know people. I know people. I know people who know people.
You know
But
people, any people?
I know, yeah. But tell us how you would fix it. Leave us a comment. Let us know. I'm all for debate. I really
Yeah.
am. I'm
Yeah.
all for
Oh, I'd
you
love
can
to
bring.
hear thoughts on this.
Yes, please do. If you're seeing little bits and pieces of this on Instagram, give us a comment. Let us know. But please, please, please be careful. I can't stress that enough because it looks like they're going to win. And if they win, they're going to turn around and enforce this decision. and to the best of their ability, and they're
And it
really
will
good at
affect
it.
you. Yeah.
They're really good at it. So anyway, folks, I'm Mike Morales here in
Woo!
the San Gabriel Valley of Southern California. Sorry for thanks for sticking with us. We had a lot to say. It was a very in-depth case. But anyway, that's our take. I'm Mike Morales. That gentleman out there is
Alex Perez, thanks for watching and watch yourself.
sip wisely, okay?